I'd like to introduce our panel for today. So we have Heather Reilly, the company manager for Luzia.
Hello, thank you. It's good to be here today.
And we also have Laura Biondo, the freestyle football artist.
Hi, thank you.
And we have Rudy Janecek, the amazing juggler that you just saw.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Majo Cornejo, the...
Majo.
Almost.
Hi.
And then finally we have Abou Traoré, the second...
Hi, everybody.
So at Google, we consider ourselves a bit of a family, and I thought I'd start by asking each of you how you wound up running away with the Cirque and joining the Cirque family.
Well, I've been with the Cirque family now about 15 years, just over 15 years, and my original career, I was an elementary school teacher. So not much of a difference between classroom and working with artists, but no, with all due respect. No, it was actually a company I worked for before, a nonprofit company called Up With People, which was a different format, but also in the performing arts and leadership. And it was a colleague from there who called me at the end of 2001 and said, Heather, I think you should join Cirque, and I've been here ever since. I've been with 5 different shows and spent a few years at our headquarters, and now working with Luzia.
Oh, awesome. And Laura?
Well, I started off playing soccer here in the US. I used to live in Miami. Then I moved to Italy where I played professional, and as I was there, recovering from an injury, my brother started to get into freestyle, and I started to see videos with him, and I would try to do things like he would do because I was really bad. But then I just kept going out to a parking lot nearby, kept training and training. I got into competitions, live performances, TV hosting, TV shows, and then through a competition, Cirque approached me to be part of this amazing show.
Hello, I come from Czech Republic. I work for Luzia show, and I since 6th generation circus, and I do all life my circus, and now I perform in Cirque du Soleil.
Awesome. A true family.
Hi, I'm Majo Cornejo. I'm the singer. I'm from Mexico. I'm so proud to work in Luzia. It's a show of my country, and I'm so happy to be here with all of us, with all of you.
Abou.
Hello, I'm from Guinea, and I played football when I was young. Now it's like 20 years. I play in football, soccer. And in my family, we love the football. My mother, she's the first. She's my first fan, and that's true. And my brother told me the football. That's why I start the football freestyle now. And I love to play football. And now I'm in Cirque du Soleil, and I'm so happy.
And this is, in fact, Cirque's newest touring production, so I was wondering if you could walk me through some of the stats. We have some Guinness record holders even on this stage.
We have 2 Guinness record holders, actually, right beside me. Laura set a record not so long ago. You're going to have to describe that. And Rudy, when we were in Toronto. So what was your...
Well, I just did in San Francisco. It was my 5th Guinness World Record, and it's the most amount of clippers in 1 minute. So all of the records that I hold all are one trick, the most amount of that trick performed in 1 minute.
Right.
And Rudy, when we were in Toronto, Rudy was speed juggling.
Yes, I make record in Toronto. I juggling 5 globes, 3 turns for 30 seconds, 428 turns.
And it took, I felt very sorry for the judge for Rudy's because it took him 45 minutes and slow motion video to count all the rotations.
Yeah.
We were on pins. He went across the street to the hotel to count and count and count and validated such. But yeah, Rudy smashed the previous record, so it was a lot of fun. But no, we opened last April. We're just about a year old. This show has done about 360 performances. We started in Montreal, Toronto, San Francisco, and then here. And this is the beginning of a 10 to 12-year journey for Luzia. So we have a long, long way to go still.
Great, great. And also, Abou as well, you and your brother are stars on YouTube, so thanks for using our platform. So I also, as we saw during the trailer before everyone got on stage, Luzia is really a triumph of technology as well. There's this massive conveyor belt, there's this 3D printer for water almost that comes down from the stage. How do you source that stuff? Is there a procurement office?
We couldn't bring the water as one of our main features in the show. Obviously, we couldn't bring it here today, but we do have the technology is actually off the shelf. For the rain curtain, there's spigots that open and close, and as they open and close and just gravity takes effect, that's what makes the different patterns in the water that you see. It's used several times throughout the show, and then we also have a pool in our stage that's about 8 feet wide and 18 inches deep that we also use, so 2,000 gallons of water. First time we've traveled with water in a show. So that it is an off-the-shelf product, but we use it in a different way. The conveyor belts that you see in the opening number, or the opening scene and then the opening number, are actually from the coal mining industry in the UK. Their original purpose is to take coal out of the mines and into their crushing factories and such. So yeah, we've repurposed them and turned them into, they've branded them as tumbulators.
Tumbulators. All right. Well, we'll have to do a market analysis and see how many we can bring to market. And it's really interesting too with just how these are found. I mean, there's obviously Cirque du Soleil infiltrating the coal industry or something to come up with that.
I'm not quite sure where the coal mining link came from, but yeah, there's a lot of, it takes about 2 years to create a new show. So when the concepts are first developed and are first put out on the storyboards, from there it's how do we find what it is to make that real and bring those dreams to reality.
And how do you vacuum up all the water between acts?
It's actually, there's a little machine, there's 2 ways. One, there's a giant funnel underneath. There's 100,000 holes in the stage. So the water, first of all, goes through the stage into a giant pan funnel and then back out to our filtration system in a truck. But we also have these little, they look like giant lawnmowers that are rolled around on the stage. It was the invention of one of our technicians.
Oh, cool.
The first version looked like it was from the Flintstones, quite made of wood. But there's a squeegee on the front that pushes water in, and then there's super absorbent fabric in the middle, and then there's fans on the back. So these get rolled around on the stage. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. But that's our last ditch. And then we also have towels that the artists bring out and wipe down the last spots.
Cool. Does technology inspire the acts, or are the acts inspired by the technology catalog available?
I think it's a little of both, because some of our acts, our most beautiful things here, take no technology at all. And others are sort of tied to that. So I think it's a little bit of both.
And there's also an historic pattern too. This isn't the first Cirque show to use Russian swings or aerial acts or silks. How do you decide which ones to go to, how to keep it fresh, and how to make it work with the story?
It's one of the biggest challenges is taking acts that are traditional circus or traditionally Cirque and modifying them. We changed them. Our Russian swings are bigger, higher, heavier than the other shows, so we can do different types of tricks. And that's really the evolution of circus as it continues to grow and be modified from there. And it really is a combination of the vision of the creators and what's going to be the best means to make that result happen.
Oh, awesome. And there's 8 shows a week, which is a pretty
or 10.
Yeah, or 10, or sometimes 10, or even a show at Google, to make it up to 11. As company manager, how do you keep track of things? What are you really looking for when the show is live?
Well, my role is very much behind the scenes. I have an artistic director and artistic team that are much more responsible for the quality, but it's really about balancing the schedule for the artists, making sure that they have the time to train and warm up and making sure they're taken care of. We have an artistic team that consists also with PMed therapists or sports therapists that work daily with them and coaches for training. So it's about creating that balance. We have Mondays off. That's our 1 day off a week. And it depends. If it was a rainy day like last week, I bet everybody stayed home and in bed last week and enjoyed a rainy day. Otherwise, we're out exploring and seeing what's going on.
And I guess for the artists too, feel free to jump in. What are you looking to achieve every night? The routine is always very similar. When you go on stage, is there a checklist in your mind of things to do, or is there like an end goal, or how do you approach every night and every show?
Well, every show is unique. So every show is like the first show you do. So every time, even if you have your same routine to warm up and get prepared for a show, the main goal as a human being on a stage, on a Cirque du Soleil stage, is to share something with the audience and transmit something, either it's happiness or passion or like excitement, whatever it is. So every time you just try to give your best on stage and make it unique for those people that are watching the show, which might be the first time they see something like what we do. So that's mainly, I think, what all of the artists like to portray on stage.
And there's even improvisation on the music side as well, because I think the total length of the show varies by 5 minutes or more. So what are you paying attention to when you do your singing?
Hay veces que lo largo del show cambia, a veces 5 minutos, algo así, porque pasa algo, entonces ustedes con la música tienen que como que estar pendiente. Entonces,
It's very handy to have multilingual cast members with you.
Cuando estás cantando, ¿qué cosas están pendientes durante el show para que musicalmente modifiquen, más o menos?
Yes, all the musicians always we use in-ears, and the band leader, if something changed during the show, he is like super focused, and he always tell us like, hey guys, we will change this part, or vamos to A to B. And it's like, okay, and we have televisions, and it's super...
If something happens in the show, sometimes we repeat something, sometimes we don't. It depends on where it is in an act or something. The show can also vary just on the nature of some things get more quick or not, but it's pretty well choreographed. There's not too much variation.
Oh, cool. Awesome. And how do you deal with fatigue and exercise and warm-ups? Like, is the time on stage the exercise and warm-up, or is there time
I think
during
for
the day?
some people, the amount of time, when we have 10 shows a week, there's not as much training as there is when there's 8 shows a week, so that's part of it. We make sure that we balance that schedule. But then everybody has their own routine of what to do on a day off, or how to relax, or Abou spends a lot of time behind a video camera, and Rudy out exploring and such. So there's different things for everybody, but that's really our coaching staff also that works with that.
Oh, cool. Awesome. And so I should also say we have a Google moderator set up as well. So there's go/ask-Luzia if you want to ask a question. We'll have time for audience Q&A towards the end as well. I wanted you to tell me a little bit more about the Cirque hiring process. Hiring is one of the most important things we do at Google, and I'm sure it's the same is true for Cirque. So how does one get started? How does the audition process work?
I think it is a little different from my experience to an artist experience. For me, it's apply for a job and away we go. But for the artists, it's really a casting process, and it's different also for every act. Some people are found on YouTube, some people are found through talent searches, some people send in their videos to us. We could create our own reality show of Cirque's Got Talent kind of idea. Some people think they're very talented, some people we think they're very talented, so it really varies. We also have scouts that go to the Olympics and go to national championships and such. We partner with circus schools. We have across the street, very conveniently from the Cirque headquarters, is the Canadian National Circus School, so they can just come right across and join us from there. And this show actually has a number of artists who have come from the circuses. Others, like Rudy, have come from traditional circus, so there's a number of pipelines to get in. Our goal is to find the best of the best, or the most unique, or the most different based on what it is we need to do.
And there's 18 shows right now. There's 2 on the horizon. So is it increasingly hard to find artists as the
Absolutely,
size
it's
grows?
changed. We've become a bit of our own competitor in that sense because we're all searching for certain things. That said, the circus arts are also growing. It's a lot more common now. When Cirque started in 1984, you would never see circus arts at a concert or in a performance like that, whereas now some things have become quite mainstream. So that's both good and bad for us in that sense. I think one of the amazing things too is artists are now taking the traditional things that we use and they're taking them to that next level, like I mentioned before. So that's also helping us in that sense.
Yeah, well, even like freestyle football is an up-and-coming discipline. There's a
Never
federation.
knew it existed before I met these guys. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And I also understand that folks that apply to Cirque, they apply with a specific act. That's their specialty. So how specific does that go? Is it better to be a generalist that's able to do all manner of?
I really think it varies, and again, depending on who the artists that come in. For us, we have some very specific disciplines. There's only one show at Cirque that has football dance, and that's here. So these guys, if they want to stay at Cirque, this is where they're going to stay. Singing is something that's much more multidisciplinary, so there's a little more options for a singer, and we have a lot of juggling in our different shows. So it really depends a lot on what people do. And artists can transfer from show to show based on their different disciplines if that exists somewhere else.
Oh, cool. And And also, there's cross-training once you're a part of the show as well. So you have, Cornejo, for example, you have artists becoming singers, singers becoming artists. How do you manage that training and bring
We
people?
always start with the core of the show. So for instance, right now in Luzia, we have our framework that's set for the show. And as the artists, now they've done, it sounds like a lot, 300 performances sounds like a lot. It's not in the grand scheme of things, but there is a routine that gets developed and it gives them the opportunity to try other things backstage. So whether it's during the day in trainings or in the evenings, people are encouraged to learn different disciplines. And if we can incorporate that in the show or create a rotation, then that's good for us. We do have some acts where we already have that rotation built in. For instance, the second number of our show is an adagio number. There's 3 men and 1 woman doing this very acrobatic style of dance. The woman is literally tossed between these gentlemen. And we already built into the plan, we have 2 women that do that, so they rotate all the time. Just for their own sakes and such. But others, you may see an act that has 7 people, we can do it with as few as 5, or we can modify acts and things along those lines too, to build in a little bit of that security if we need to.
Yeah, and it's also a lifetime career as well. So once as your artistic endeavors continue and peak, there's roles behind the stage that a lot of artists will go to.
Yeah, we've had artists become coaches and stage managers and go into that side of the management. A lot of people will return afterwards, maybe back to their homes and go into coaching. But we also have artists who go on to school and do completely different careers. So really the wide scope of what's possible.
Cool, awesome. I'd like to also talk a little bit about the show specifically. It is a waking dream of Mexico, so I wanted to learn a little bit more about the origins of that theme, how you developed the story, what emotions you're trying to convey through the piece.
Well, the idea, Daniele Finzi-Pasca is the creator of the show. He also created Cornejo for us in 2005 and has stayed in touch with Cirque over the years. Daniele and his wife had lived in Mexico. He's from Switzerland originally. She's Canadian. They'd lived in Mexico for more than 10 years and were really taken by the culture and the people in the different regions. And that's what we do in this show. It's not a stereotypical Mexican show. It's really, and I think Majo can attest, it's about the beauty, it's about the differences, it's about the things you don't think you're going to see, especially at a Cirque show. It's the first time we've gone so thematic in something. People often wonder, well, it's all sung in Spanish and will I understand? Well, for years Cirque was in gobbledygook and everybody understood. I think you got the passion from Majo when she was singing for you earlier. There was no question whether or not you understood any of it. The emotions come through, and that's the same with this. We take people on a journey that's, every act is a different setting or a different part of the country. So whether you're in a field of 5,000 flowers with hummingbirds, or whether you're in a cantina, or whether you're in the desert or cenote, every scene changes, and with it, that image changes of the show. So that's really that's the dream idea of taking us through.
And there's even an airplane flying metaphor at the very beginning.
And there's an airplane and a parachute that goes horribly wrong at the beginning, but it all ends up okay.
Yeah, it all works out. It's
Yes.
the umbrellas are the way to go.
Yep. Umbrella, take an umbrella. If you're ever going to jump out of a plane, it's very handy. We've learned.
Yep. And then the scuba diving, it all comes together. So as the tour evolves, is Latin America on the horizon for Luzia? And
Plug your ears, because they're not supposed. No. Yes, the idea, again, I said the show will travel 10 to 12 years, so we have the entire world ahead of us. We'll start in the States now through mid-2018 is confirmed, and then after that, we're still working on the tour plan, so that we'll go from there. But yeah, certainly down into Mexico, Latin America, South America, Europe, Australia, Asia. We have a long, long, long road ahead of us.
cool. And of course, it encourages people to make the trip down.
Not in that order. Just so you know. Everybody, Heather, where are we going? Where are we going? They were asking me are we going here? Not in that order. Lots of places to go, though.
The passports for Cirque artists are huge. And the show evolves as time goes by. So some of the existing shows have found their way into an arena format. Acts come and go. How do you approach that with the story?
The show will evolve. Certainly the core of the show will stay the same. That won't change. Luzia will always be Luzia. But as artists come and go, they bring in their own flavor. They bring in their own different tricks and ideas to things as well. So that can modify over time. And then the lifespan of of a big top show. We started in 2006 with the show Saltimbanco. It had traveled all over, and it was going to be retired. It was going to be put away, literally put on the shelf, and our executives were like, it's too good to stop. Yeah. So we stripped away all the infrastructure, and we just toured with the show. So that launched a whole new division for us, our arenas division, and now that's become the natural transition to go from a big top arena version to an arena version, and that opens another 3, 4, 5 years of touring to a lot of places. We're too big. We're a show that takes 65 trucks to move from city to city, and so we're 1.5 747s when we travel. So we can't go to a lot of smaller places, and the arena version now goes into smaller performance venues, sporting venues, hockey rinks, that kind of idea. So it's opened a lot of opportunities.
And you see Cirque's storytelling tradition in sight, also on cruise ships, and even on TV.
Well, and there's a lot of new projects that are coming our way, and a lot of growth that's happening in our company. It's a pretty exciting time for us.
Oh, cool. So if you have any questions as part of the Googler audience, please go ahead and take the mic. We'll go to those as well. There's a few more that I wanted to cover on my side. This has been a pressing question of mine. It's been on my mind for years of watching Cirque.
I'm ready.
What is it with the Quebecois? Like, it seems like the entire circus culture of the world is based out of the sort of genius in Montreal. Like, how did that
Only
come about?
for the last 35, 40 plus years. No, in fact, yes, it started in Quebec, and yes, there's a very strong circus culture in Montreal and in Quebec as a whole. But really, the roots aren't in Canada by any stretch of the imagination. The traditional circus has been centuries old. The Chinese have been doing it long before any of us. But I think what's happened is that incubator started, and when you get that little core, then it grows and grows and grows. I've worked with artists who are coincidentally Quebecois who've left Cirque and gone and started their own small companies. So that just sort of feeds upon itself. Success feeds on success. There's now a festival that happens in the city in the summer, and it's the English translation is completely Cirque, and everywhere, every street corner, every little park has some sort of stage and people juggling. And we were lucky enough, we were in Montreal last year when that was happening, and to be the sort of big headliner of it. But it's fun. It's really fun.
Awesome. I think we have a question here.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
First of all, congratulations and thank you for coming to Google. Now, what I want to know is, what's the origin of the name? Because I'm from Mexico. Luzia is actually with C, not with Z.
Do you want to explain the name?
¿En español?
Sí, en español.
Lucía fue tomada de la palabra luz y lluvia. Entonces es luz, lluvia, Lucía. Lucía.
So it's not based on the name, because there is a name, Luzia.
It is a person's name. So in English form, it's the combination of the word for light and the combination of the word for rain. And we mashed them together to give that. It is also a person's name, but our show is thematic. The light and the rain play off of each other throughout the entire show.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. And you mentioned before, a very international cast. Is French and English sort of the lingua franca? Or?
Our main language, our operational language is all English. And we, as people come in, we have everything. We have 24 different nationalities, but of course that's the broad cultures that come with that. So English is our daily operational language, but on our site you'll hear all sorts of things on the go. A lot of Spanish, a lot of French. Nobody for Rudy. Rudy's got English now. But their English improved so dramatically too, because Rudy was actually the first artist I met when I arrived in Montreal to start the project last year. But English has come a long way. Same with Abou, from French to very, very little to now very, very good in that. So day to day.
All right, we have some questions over here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so first I just want to say that was an amazing performance. Thank you so much. I'm actually on the Android Wear smartwatch team here at Google, so I'm wondering, how do wearables come into your performances, if at all, and are there any plans for that? Or
That's a really good question. If you want to give us some to try, I'd be happy. No.
Underneath your seat as you exit.
Where do I find that? Actually, we do have different technology that we've incorporated in our show, and one of the most amazing pieces of that is a dress that Majo wears. Not this particular one, but she has an electronic dress that's covered in flowers, and when she comes out on the stage, they're all red. Her other dress is white, and it's covered in flowers that are closed, and they're all electronically coordinated, much more in your field than mine, but it's, they're programmed to open. And as she goes through the song, the dress blooms. And it's spectacular how that happens. And the programming itself has a certain pattern, but that could be modified. We could have it go in lines or straight or back and forth. So that's one of the biggest uses of technology that we have right now in our show. And the first time in a Big Top show, not the first time in other shows. Michael Jackson, the Immortal World Tour, had electronics built into their costumes and a lot of LEDs and such as well. So it's the hardest part for us is how do you wash it? So if you can work on that, and my head of wardrobe is back here, she'll be happy to talk to you. How do you wash it? That's what I need you to work on.
Yeah, well, Google Daydream uses performance fabric. It was a very important search for us.
We could chat.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I think the dress is really one of the most beautiful, subtle notes in the whole show. Yeah. And there's aerial vehicles in Paramore, I think, in New York. So
Any way we can use that combination of technology and arts, we do a lot more with video than we ever used to. And again, it's about, for us on tour, it's about being able to transport it easily and be able to clean it afterwards. Another question. What did you just do?
You just changed the microphone.
You just messed up the people in the back. Okay, another question.
Sort of as an extension of that, one of the things that's always impressed me about Cirque is how every little detail is explicitly designed for maximum visual impact, down to the belt buckles, the makeup, color coordinating the mics even just now.
Oh.
And I'm curious, how much of that, or what is the design process for that, and also how much of it is done to the individual artist to decide what they want specific details of their aesthetic to be?
The original concept is all done as part of the creation process, and we have an extensive team that does that. Everything from the acrobatic elements, costume, makeup, there's individuals who take care of all of those things. When we are in the creation phase and everything is done sort of at a mock-up level, that's when the artists are trying things on. Does this work? Does this not? Can I stretch in it? Can I juggle? Can I spin? So all of those, people had input on that. And Rudy's buckle, as much as it looks metal, it's not. It's flexible. It's made of a rubbery kind of material so that the artists aren't getting injured. So there's a lot of that sort of research and development that goes into it. And then the wear and tear, we learn things as we go along, and maybe they need to be modified or not, or it's too long, or it's too short, or Majo's dress was too heavy in the beginning. It weighs about 25 pounds, so that needed to be modified. It's literally lowered on, she stands underneath, and it's lowered from above with her arm to get into that dress. So there's a lot of those details, you're right, are taken into effect. And also, what's it going to look like from the audience? You're sitting in there in dark, we've got to change the lighting. How's that going to look? That all factors into how we design something.
And it's all very customized too. I mean, these are like one-off.
Oh, they're one-offs
pieces.
of everything. The artists, we measure them literally head to toe, every dimension you could imagine. They're custom done for them for the most part. The fabrics and stuff, even the dyeing, the patina, this would have all started white, and we do the painting in Montreal at our headquarters so that we can control the quality of it. So everything is pretty much in-house. Shoes-wise, those are off the shelf. Majo, what shoes do you have on? No, Majo's shoes are designed by us, made by us. Rudy's are ours. So yeah, it depends that as well. Even from that level, we do it ourselves. So.
Cool. Question there.
Yeah, so I've been to a bunch of Cirque shows. They're great, but I've noticed over the years that every so often, I guess, the performances that you're trying are so difficult that every so often, you mess up, you do something wrong, and then you usually sort of redo it. And I think even a couple of things when I saw Luzia this time. So how, are you always sort of trying to push and do things that you can just sort of barely do most of the time? How do you get that balance between having something that's sort of, that you can do repeatably and having something that's challenging enough that you're really pushing the envelope?
Yeah, and what's perfection?
Well, I think errors are part of perfection in what we do, because if it's too good and too perfect, A, it looks simple, and B, it doesn't look like it. We must be fooling you somehow. Mm-hmm. So to drop something or to miss something, there's often a bigger cheer after the fact when we do it right the next time.
Yep.
I'll let you in on a secret. In some shows, they're stunts, so we do it on purpose for you. But then you get the wow factor. It's like, oh, there is a risk element. So it really is that balance of things. To be perfect all the time, that's not our goal. To entertain, to give people what they're looking for, that's what's important in the shows.
It's pretty easy just to put an extra beat, an extra stanza in the music so that people can keep.
Well, and that's, as Majo mentioned before, our band can go back and do something again. Some tricks they will do again, some things they won't. So, but we have that flexibility as well to be able to make it happen again.
All right. I think we may have also had some questions on Google Moderator as well. I know one that I read before the show. Rudy, do you offer lessons? I can barely do three. I can barely do three balls. Like,
can you teach people how to juggle?
An instructional YouTube channel, perhaps.
I can a little bit.
Awesome. We in fact have a very gifted team of.
Somebody want to try?
Well, maybe. It's beyond my experience. Are there jugglers in the house?
Give me your iPad.
Oh.
There you go.
Sorry.
It's always good to have a
All
volunteer
right.
or be voluntold.
So these are weighted.
Okay. So when you try to juggling, you need to hold it your hand in right angle.
Okay.
That you can good spin. When you put more higher, you can fly behind or in front, you know?
Okay.
And don't move so much, only twist your
Just in a
wrist.
twist. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna start with the one. This was on my demo reel for Cirque du Soleil. They're still getting back to me, but well. All right, so whoa, almost. It's heavy.
We've got more.
And then you can do, yeah. And just bring in some speed. And, yeah. Well, thank you. All right. And so.
I'm responsible for the artist contracts, so we can talk later.
All right. Well, actually, my suit was inspired by the musicians and how. Yeah.
There you go. We have to paint your collars red and make them.
Yeah, and actually the snake, right? You get to walk around with the snake for half the time, Abou. It's pretty cool. All right, and then another question. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Can you walk us through the creative process? How long does it take, and do you typically start with an idea or theme and then find artists to fit in, or does it ever start with you find a set of artists that you really like and then find a theme to fit around them?
The actual creation of the show starts with the ideas from the creator. I mentioned Daniele before, and he knew that he wanted to do this. He's very good at visualizing what he wants and truly just draws out the storyboard of where he sees the creation happening. That's pretty normal for most of our creative process. From there, it's how do we make that act come true? What's the best representation of that image? I'll use an example from another show that Daniele did was Cornejo, and in there he had visions of his childhood, and two things that stood out in his childhood. One was always bouncing on a bed, because kids always bounce on a bed, and two was his grandmother had a giant chandelier over her dining room table, and he and his brother used to always joke about swinging on Grandma Nona, in that case, chandelier. And in that show, we built queen-size beds with trampolines instead of mattresses, and we had giant chandeliers that were used as spinning apparatus for aerialists. So it's kind of a combination of the two. When we're looking for the artists, and they come in, we work together with them. There's a process. So about 2 years before we open is when all of this visionary process happens. The research and development technology starts about a year and a half before. So 6-8 months in that process. We bring the artists in sort of the summer prior to, so there's about 6 months that they work on the acrobatic elements, and then the real push comes starting in January of the opening year, where the choreography and the scenic elements are all brought together. And that process is very intense. It was a lot of long hours, so that started for us the beginning of January last year, and very intense until April. So a lot of long hours, a lot of hurry up and wait, a lot of try this, do this, move that. So all of that works. Moving acts around, oh, we like that better there. So that process is very intense for those months. And even once we open, we're still making modifications to things. The show is much tighter than it was a year ago. We've removed some elements, we've added some elements in, so that little bit is ongoing until we really have, all right, this is what we're going to stay with. So the whole process, a little over 2 years from thought to reality.
And are the different shows siloed from each other? Like if you're designing Luzia, is part of the required reading to go to Vegas, see what's going on there, or is it kept completely separate?
Not necessarily. It depends on who the creator is. Some have done more than one production for us and have been involved with Cirque. Other people, the show that's being created now, which is called Volta and opening in April, that creation team had never done anything before, so they did go around and look at different shows and different productions. Not so much from the inspiration idea, but what are my limitations? Some people who come to us forget the fact that we have to pack this all in a truck. We have giant props in this show. Those conveyor belts and the Russian swings, they're massive. And we have a horse that's like 1.5 times the size of a normal horse. That's a puppet. It takes up almost half a truck. So they forget those things. So that's what we need to sort of remind the creators. It has to fit in a box.
Well, and sometimes the technology from one show makes its way into the others. You know, like the fishbowl and Zumanity, take that on the road, and the puppetry you see in multiple ones as well. Cool. There's a question here, ma'am.
Yes.
I want to thank you very much for coming here. Listening to, particularly to you singing in my language was very moving and touching, so thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias a usted. And I have 2 questions for the artist. Number 1, did you ever think that you were not gonna make it? And how do you overcome that feeling? And number 2, what keeps you motivated? I have the feeling that it's like you're always about to reach perfection, so, and at the same time, like in every show, like you do, but still need to keep getting better and better. So how do you deal with the motivation every day?
So let's start with the second one. How do you keep motivated? How do you keep going every day? Different shows? What's your motivation? If you want.
Ok. Algo que a mí me motiva mucho, la verdad, es la gente. O sea, hay muchas personas que nos escriben y de repente dice, una persona que me marcó mucho a mí en lo personal fue en Montreal. Estábamos allá y recuerdo que yo estaba en el supermercado y traía la sudadera de Luzia. Entonces se me acercó y me dijo, hola, ¿tú trabajas en Luzia? Y le dije, sí. Y se me quedó y me dijo, ¿eres la cantante? Y le dije, sí, mucho gusto. Y me dijo, solamente quería decirte que el día que fui había tenido una situación muy difícil. Y hay una parte de la letra de una canción que dice, ya lo descubriste, si el cielo llora, no sirve ponerse triste nunca jamás. A mí eso se me hace, yo no sé si esa noche alguno de nosotros va a marcar la vida de una persona, pero algo que a mí me hace hacer las cosas bien todos los días es eso, saber el compromiso que yo tengo como artista, como persona que está en el escenario, porque hay 2.500 personas todas las noches que nos están viendo. Y no sabemos si el hacerlo bien o el hacerlo mal vaya a tener consecuencias en la vida de una persona ahí. Entonces eso a mí como artista me motiva todos los días a decir, ok, tengo que hacerlo.
Basically what she says is that what motivates her is the people. Because, and she gave the example when she met someone in Montreal in the supermarket and she was wearing the Luzia sweater and they asked her, you're from Luzia, you're the singer, right? And she was, yes. And then the person basically just thanked her because he was having a rough day. And that day, she was making the example, there's a part of the song where it says that even if the sky is raining, like you don't have to be sad, kind of. So it's like, you never know when you can make a person's day with what you do. And like we perform every day, as she said, in front of 2,500 people every day, and you never know if you do something good or bad. You always transmit a message to the people that are watching you. So the fact that you go on stage to share something with somebody, that's what keeps her motivated as an artist. And if I can add to it, I mean, that main thing is the people. Because we're sharing something to an audience. We're not doing this for ourselves. We're just transmitting through what we do something to you. Also, but on the other side, yes, we are acrobats. We're athletes. And another part to keep that motivation is the fact that you work with people that are talented and always want to do more, always want to improve. And we live literally in an environment that allows us to become better at what we do. So that attaches to that fear of never making it. It's not much of a fear that never making it. It's more like overcoming that kind of a doubt, but it's not really a doubt. It's just like you don't know what could happen, or like you don't know what the boundaries are. So it's more that excitement. I see it more as an excitement as a fear that I can't make it. It's not like, oh wow, this is hard. But it's like I can do it if I want to. I have to push myself. So you mix those it kind of goes from the motivational part to not having a fear to also saying like, oh my God, I can inspire someone Like, I don't know, maybe a kid sees Rudy juggling, is like, I want to do that. Or a girl, for me, she sees me does football, like soccer tricks, and like, if you come from other parts of the world, soccer is mainly like a guy thing. But then it's maybe just a girl that does skateboard, and it's like, I'm going to become a professional skateboarder. So it all kind of loops in.
I think with the artists, too, one of the things that they can add, the show that we did a year ago, although it's the same Luzia, now that they're more comfortable with the basics, they can push themselves that much further. There's the next step and the next step. Even though the act is the same, there's how can I give that little bit more? For themselves as much as for the audience itself. So there's all sorts of little things that are happening there every day.
Thank you.
So, go ahead.
For the freestyle footballers, what's your favorite trick and what's the hardest trick?
Yeah. My favorite tricks? Okay, I will show you. And I love dancing, that's why I make the
For me, my favorite trick is called the Clipper, which is also the last record that I broke. And it's like this. Thank you. Answering to the second question, which is the hardest trick, in freestyle, there's not really exactly a hardest trick. There's levels of tricks. There's like, you can divide them if it's like 1 revolution, 2 revolution, 3 revolutions. But the hardest part it's always different for everybody. But definitely the most challenging thing is to try to do as many tricks as possible without juggling in between, which is called a combo. So it's personal. Some people find it harder to learn things with their feet. Some people find it harder to learn things with their heads. But definitely the most challenging part is doing as many as you can together.
And for me, the hardest tricks is a back salto, back flip with the ball.
Yes, that's true.
Because I take like 2 years to really
Perfect it. Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, to take 2 years to really perfect this trick, because sometimes I drop and I have the injury with the district, and I never give up. I training every day. Sometimes after the show, I stay like 1 hour to training, because every time I want to make the new tricks. This is my challenge every day, because when the people come, they don't know what is the football freestyle. And when I give something they never see, and the originality. And sometimes I mix the football, dancing, and acrobatic. That's why people say, okay, I don't like the football and soccer for the American people. Sometimes the people tell me, I don't like the soccer, but you mix the football and dancing. I never see it before, and that's why I love your act. And this give me the energy to make something strong.
For us, that scene in the show is an urban street scene, because there's other members of our cast are behind them, kind of the other teams, guys and girls sort of. And we also incorporate rain. So not only are they doing those tricks, but then we also make it rain during their act. So we had another level of difficulty in case it wasn't hard enough to start.
Yeah, even the cast is building their skills in freestyle football. Speaking of that as well, pour vos deux, you've both played the game of football, soccer. So now that you've moved into freestyle, do you ever move back into an actual match? Are those tricks applicable on the pitch? Do you incorporate that when you play the game of soccer?
No.
Not just English and Spanish, ladies and gentlemen, French too.
Right. It depends the tricks, but some tricks you can, when you play in the soccer, you can make it's like sometimes I can turn the ball with the head in the soccer, in soccer, it's not, it's not, you can make this because if you do this, it's like the fall. That's why.
Yeah.
We normally, on our days off, there's not only us, but there's other artists, like Rudy himself and part of the musicians, like we all like to play, so we organize little games among ourselves and we go out to play because we're passionate about it. In fact, during like World Cups or Europeans, we had like projecting things on the walls of physio, and but you can use some tricks in the games, depends, but it mainly freestyle helps a lot on the ball control and in your confidence. So when you go play, even though you're not going to do a bunch of crazy tricks, you do have a confidence in like trying things. Or
Yeah, and then an agility too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just. Oh yes, one final audience question.
Yeah, so you're constantly pushing the boundaries of the body, and that comes with injury. So I was wondering, how often do acrobats get injured, and how do you deal with that?
More often than we'd like is one answer, but not as often as people think is the other. Injuries can range from anything that's little. It can be lots of bumps and bruises. People always have bumps and bruises. That's pretty normal. If it's something that's more serious or significant, we partner with the local medical community in case we need that level of intervention. As much as we can, we manage things in-house with our sports therapists that are with us. And if necessary, yes, there's surgeries. There have been broken bones and things like that, but we really try and mitigate that as much as we can. If somebody is out of the show, it could be for a couple of days, it could be for a couple of weeks, it depends. If they're going to be out for an extended period of time, we send them home, because the best place to get better is usually with mom taking care of you and doing those sort of things. We send people home for their rehab, and then they come back when they're ready to train again.
And on-site massage therapy, just like Google.
Oh yeah, they have massage. We saw your haircut truck out here. That's what I was jealous about. But yeah, we have massage therapists also that come with us, and again, we get the support of the community. It's one of our benefits, I guess, because we're so well known. We use the same doctors as the Sharks, kind of idea.
Okay, the last audience question.
Yeah. With so much that you create at so many levels, from the footwear design to repurposing mining equipment, I'm really curious if you can talk about what your design shop is like at the technical and physical creation level. You've got to have a lot of interesting people with diverse backgrounds.
Our studio is a lot smaller than this, let me tell you. There's about 2,500 employees that work at our headquarters in Montreal. Everything from lawyers and accountants on that side to our creative team. Our headquarters is kind of designed as a factory, so it also has an industrial look to it, and one wing is completely that creation side. From the costume shop, one floor has all the fabric work and the sewing and the hats, another floor's got more of the patterning and does wigs and shoes. There's the opposite side is a technical creation shop, so there really is, I think there's probably about 500 to 600 people that work on that full-time for us, working on the different shows, and they work project to project. So we have a team that does the maintenance for our show, and then there's teams that do creations as well, so they rotate back and forth on different things.
And at each show as well, there's a complete mirror of the stage backstage for practice too.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you don't usually see from the front, you come in the entrance tent and the big top itself, and behind that's what we call the artistic tent, and in that tent is their dressing rooms, the training area. So during the show, people are warming up or cooling down, depending on where they are in this series of things. They can watch from monitors of what's happening, so they know when to go on and off stage. We have our wardrobe team. I have a head of wardrobe, and she has 2 assistants, plus local staff, plus the physios and such, and coaches are all back there making that happen. So it's kind of our beehive backstage.
Awesome. So the last question that I had, you touched on Majo's dress, but for anyone on the stage as well, what's one detail that the audience may not be paying attention to, that they need to tilt their gaze when they're watching the show? Like, what's one little trick or little homage that you wish people would pay more attention to?
You want to go down the line, we'll see. What's something that people need to watch for in the show, something they might miss?
I like the little robot guy that mows the flowers.
For me, is the smile. The smile, because it's important when you give the smile with the people, and people can remember everything. And when they come to home, they say, okay, I saw the show, but the guy, when he played the soccer, it gave me the motivation or the smile, and then I can keep this for the memory every time, you know. And that's why I love play the soccer, and I share the smile with the people.
Always fun. Anyone else? Well, the dress is amazing.
Your dress is amazing. Always watch
all
the dress.
the show, it's so beautiful.
I think one thing, if I can recommend, is if you can, come see a show twice. Because the first time, we're going to make you look certain directions. We're going to force you to watch something on that stage while we're doing something over here to clean up or change. So we draw the attention one way to make something else happen. What I suggest to people, if you can come a second time, is don't watch the main thing, watch the other place. Because that's the other little magic, like those machines that clean. We do that in the dark, but we focus on something in front. So there's a lot of those little tricks that happen.
And even the artists that are spotting each other and conversing in the background.
Try, again, you need to come twice, but
3 times.
or more. But if you could, don't watch the main thing. If you can take your eyes away from it, that's my suggestion. And then you see those other little moments that are going on. And often a lot of little interactions and jokes that these guys have on stage, they're playing with each other even more than what you see. So no, it's fun. Come see it again.
And Cirque, the San Jose run is through mid-March, then it goes on the road. We have Chicago, we have Los Angeles.
Yeah, we are playing down in San Jose just off of Taylor Street until March the 19th. From here we go to Seattle, then Denver, Chicago, Atlanta, and LA will wrap up our year for us this year.
Excellent. Well, c'était un plaisir. Nous vous remercions beaucoup.
Merci.
Veuillez accepter l'expression de nos sentiments les plus distingués.
Très bien.
And thank you very much. Cirque du Soleil.
It's our pleasure.
Google,
Thank
Luzia.
you, and it's great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.